Welcome. My name is Chris Davis. I'm a certified keto carnivore coach, and this is my channel. This is where I attempt to put things in layman's terms and help people grow and understand that we've been lied to as a society for well over 100 years when it comes to nutrition. So today I just wanted to go over some kind of nerdy sciencey stuff, and if you choose to do a keto all the way to carnivore way of eating, then hopefully this information will help you out. So the first thing I want to go into is our digestive system, right? Because they always want to compare us to our primates. They always want to compare us to herbivores and omnivores, which, spoiler alert, we're not omnivore. We're actually carnivore. Well, based on our acidity level of our stomach, we're actually scavengers. But we'll just say we're carnivores. So if you look at this chart right here, shows the human digestive system, shows that of carnivores and of herbivore/omnivores. So this chart is pretty simple to look at. You go from left to right and you notice something. You notice something that our cecum or appendix is about the same size as that of a carnivore. I mean, look at the cecum size of an herbivore. It is massive. And so what does the cecum do? Well, that's the connection between the small and large intestines and any of the food that was still in some kind of shape besides liquid that went through your small intestines, that it starts to create your poop. That's where it starts the process of absorbing the water, the electrolytes, the minerals, right, out and forms poop for you. And so ours is not very big. And so lucky for us, if we eat a lot of animal products, meat products, then it's liquefied in the small intestines. But if you have vegetables, grains, and fruits, then you're going to have some of that left over, and that's going to be taken care of in your large intestines. And so we are designed more to be carnivore than we are to be omnivore. So that's the first thing I wanted to point out. So first off, what are the different levels? And of course, this is kind of different depending on who you ask. This is just a chart that I found. So the first one is pretty agreed upon, that the most strict is Lion's diet, right? It's salted beef and nothing else, right? Then you have your classic carnivore, where maybe you add in some fish, some eggs, some dairy, right? And then you have animal-based. And the biggest thing with this that I don't agree with is fruit and honey. Now, not never having fruit and honey, but not having fruit and honey every day or every week, right? When we were hunter-gatherers, before we had this cool stuff called refrigeration, it was when we came across it, right? We'd come across some berries, hey, let's have them. Come across an apple tree, right? Some kind of fruit, absolutely, right? Pick something out of the ground, it was veggie, let's eat it. We didn't have this all the time, all year round. And so I don't agree that we should be having it every day all year round, because sugar, whether you call it natural sugar, which again, sugarcane is natural, or not, sugars and starches, carbohydrates, all transfer into sugar in the body, and fructose processes through the liver. So be mindful of that if you're going to choose that option. And then the last one is they call it a ketogenic carnivore diet. This is the one I think that most people are more familiar with, and this is the one that I kind of consider myself, where I eat all the animal products, right? If it had eyes or came from something that had eyes, it's up on the table. I decide whether I want to eat it or not. Though I will say pig doesn't really agree with me. And then you have some veggies. For me, the only veggie is romaine lettuce. So those are the 4 levels. Don't be dogmatic about it. Don't be like, oh my God, you're not 100% carnivore. I don't believe God intended us or designed us to be 100% carnivore. I think the problem comes in is what we as humans have done to our food, right? Even animal products, right? Think of all the antibodies and shit that some of the cattle and chickens and different animals get in the farming process, right? And so we got to be mindful of these things, but I do believe we were meant to be predominantly meat eaters. So which one is best for you? Well, that depends, right? What ails you? What issues do you have, whether it's in your digestive system, whether it's an inflammatory disease, an autoimmune disease, you're overweight, right? It all depends. That's the first thing. The second thing is, how long have you been eating a shit diet, right? Standard American, fast food, box bag crap. For me, it was 38 years, right? And so when I chose to go low carb, because that's what it was called at that time, I was like, well, I'm just going to cut down my carbs to less than 100 grams of carbs a day. And then I went to 50 and then 20, and now I'm at like 15, and it works for me. So how long have you been poisoning yourself? Because you can't expect to poison yourself for 38 years and then in a month go, oh my God, it didn't work. Really? You spent that years, decades poisoning yourself. It's going to take time to heal yourself. And so look at them and decide what it is. What is your goal? How long is it going to take? And be willing to commit to you. Commit to yourself. Because in the end, no one really gives a shit about you but you. Right? I know my husband loves me. I know my kids love me. But on the daily, 24/7, 365, me. I care about me. And so you are worth it. Decide you're worth it, and then go. So for me, my goal is to be upright and mobile as long as possible, right? With what I have going on, my chiropractor, I love him. He's awesome. He told me last month that it amazes him that I'm not in a wheelchair. And I credit it to my exercise and my nutrition, right? Because having a ketogenic way of eating reduces my pain level to where then I can keep moving. Because 10 years ago, he's like, Chris, if you stop moving, you're going to stop moving. And I went, then I'll keep moving, right? And so I have my hard days and my easy days, but I feel like my nutrition has contributed exponentially to my ability to be able to be mobile. And so that's my goal, is to just be mobile, move around. So this next chart is just one that I found. It kind of been going around Facebook, right? The carnivore food pyramid. It just kind of gives you an idea of what we should be eating as humans, right? Because let's face it, the original food pyramid that I grew up with was a bunch of load of crap. You should not be having 5 to 7 servings of grain a day, but hey, you were subsidizing the USDA, so good on you. And then so the other side is just, what are some helpful hints for you? So first, you go keto, you go carnivore, don't portion size. Now, people say, yeah, but Chris, you talk about meal prepping and you portion size. Well, yeah, but I've played with the portions over the years to determine what satiates us, doesn't overstuff us, and doesn't leave us hungry. And so you got to figure out what that is, right? For me, I can down a 20 to 24 ounce ribeye, no problem. If I have a 12 to 16 ounce ribeye, then I usually add some ground hamburger meat to make up the difference. And so I know it works for me. You got to figure that out. But don't restrict yourself to X amount of ounces of meat. Okay, the second one, we have gotten in and been trained and programmed as adults and as Americans that we need to have breakfast. You gotta have breakfast as soon as you get up to fuel your body. Bullshit. Breakfast is you break your fast. For me, that's anywhere between 8 and noon. So play with it. Go, you know what? I do better when I get up at 7, have breakfast, and I have dinner by 3. Or I feel better when I have breakfast at 11 and I have dinner before 6. Right? Have that narrower window, because you'll find out when you drop the carbohydrates, you're not hungry, right? If you're eating enough, you're not portion sizing, you're not going to be hungry. So you're not going to have the munchies. You're not going to be snacking. So I think that's a huge plus, right? Which then you want to plan ahead. Like I said, I meal prep. I have to. My husband works 4/12s. I work 4/10s. We have an hour commute one way to work. And so during the week, who the hell wants to get up and cook and pack? And so on the weekend, I just do meal prep, and I'll show you some of that later in the video. So set yourself up, right? That's the key. Set yourself up for success. Don't worry about salt. I've watched I don't know how many videos, looked at research, and your body will tell you when you've had too much, right? Because you'll have something and it will taste like you just picked up a square of salt and just started licking it. Like it gets bad when you've had too much salt. So salt everything. I salt everything, right? And I also take electrolytes, mainly because I can't convince myself to eat beef liver. I'm working on it a little at a time, but until that time, I also have sodium, magnesium, potassium in my salts, and I have that once a day. So maybe that'll work for you if you can't tolerate the beef liver like I can't. So next, we're looking at just different food lists. It's pretty simple. If it's the meat, the muscle of an animal, you can have it. If it came from an animal, whether it be in the form of milk or cheese or eggs, that works too, right? But some people, they like having that concrete list. So I just found this online. Hopefully it'll work for you, at least to get you started. On the right-hand side, I've constantly get asked, yeah, but Chris, what cut of meat? Like, I'm not rich. Like, I don't got a lot of money. Truly, I started out with ground beef. So if all you can do is chuck roast or rump roast, there you go. That's what you're going to have. If you can afford ribeye, by all means have it. Sirloin, I try to stay away from just because it doesn't have enough fat on it. It's way too lean. I mean, unless you're doing a protein sparing modified fast, then I would stay away from sirloin. But, New York strip, if you can afford New York strip once in a while, then have that. But it doesn't have to be, the Panda Massage, Wagyu, whatever meat. Get what you can afford. If all you can afford is 100% beef hot dogs, there you go. Have those, right? Whatever you can do. So the next question I get asked is it sustainable, right? Can I keep doing this in the long term, or is this just a fad diet that, you do to heal something and then go back to the shit you were eating? No, it's absolutely and should be your primary way of eating for your life. And so it's absolutely sustainable, right? I've seen different videos of people that they're 15, 20 years straight carnivore, right? Not even ketogenic, just straight carnivore. And so if they can do it, you can do it too, right? So for me, like I've said in other videos, feel free to check those out. I've been ketogenic, low carb for 12 years, right? And so I have great blood work. I don't worry about any diseases really, right? I'm trying to stave off all the normal aging diseases that they tell us that is just inevitable as you get older. Bullshit. And I don't feel restricted, right? I don't feel like I'm on a restricted diet. Like, oh my God, I don't get to have the bread and the muffins and the oatmeal and the bagels. And I'm Italian. Like, pasta bread is what I grew up on. The problem is it's not the bread from the motherland. And so it has all these chemicals in it in America. And so it's not like my grandmother had in Italy growing up. I've gotten to the point where I go to the bakery or through the bakery. Let's face it, I don't go to the bakery. But as I go through the bakery section of the grocery store, it just smells rancid, right? It smells like rancid oil. And so you'll get to a point where you're just like, oh, wow, that's just nasty. That ain't even worth it, right? And so don't worry about the notion that, oh, you're restricting yourself. You're supposed to have the rainbow on your plate. It's supposed to be colorful and bullshit. Another lie, right? Another lie to try to get you to eat more veggies and to be more sick. And so just don't buy into it. Tell them, thanks, but no thanks. I really like this, right? So this is from ketomaria.com. Maria and Craig, they are actually the people that I went through to get my certification for keto carnivore coaching. And so they do have a certified coaching process. And so I saw this chart and I was like, that's actually really good information. So I wanted to make sure I included it. So you look at the chart on the left, right, and it compares a 7-ounce sirloin and broccoli. Now they are looking at leucine, right, in particular in this chart. And so for a 7-ounce piece of sirloin, you would have to eat 9 heads of broccoli to get the same amount of leucine. Who in the hell wants to do that, right? I mean, I grew up chicken, rice, and broccoli. Like that was my go-to weight loss meal, right? Every day for lunch, chicken, rice, and broccoli. There is no way I'm going to eat 9 heads of broccoli for a day or even probably a week. So, and then you look at the right-hand chart, and the reason I like this chart is because we have been lied to about superfoods, right? What qualifies as a superfood? Get your kale, get your spinach, veggies is where it's at. But you look at this chart, and what is the most nutrient-dense item on there? It's beef liver, cow liver. And next to that is cow. And then down the line is kale. So we need to step up and say, no, you've been lying to us. Cow is what we need to eat. So I found this chart on the National Institute of Health website. And what it got me thinking, the previous chart was, okay, it has all these different things in it, but is it bioavailable to us? Are we able to absorb it into our system through our digestive tract? And so I found this. I am going to compare, this is for dairy, and then they did one for fruits and vegetables. So I am going to compare those, but right, this one you can see the bioavailabilities. For example, 65% of vitamin B12 in dairy is bioavailable to us. Right? You have all the different things. Magnesium is 24 to 75%. I believe that's more based on the type of milk that you get, right? Raw milk, 1%, 2%, whole milk, right? I think that plays a factor in it. Next, we have for veggies and fruits, right? And so they list off which fruits are what. But if you look at it, right, they're very excited that vitamin C is 80 to 90% bioavailable. But what you look at is there's a gentleman, it was, I believe, 1928, explorer Stephenson. He got stranded with the Inuits in Canada for a year. He went to a strictly carnivore diet, and they're like, oh my God, you're gonna have scurvy. You don't have enough vitamin C. No, he didn't get scurvy, and his gingivitis healed up, and he felt better, because when you aren't a carb burner, you don't need the vitamin C. So here's a comparison, right? And some of them, they just weren't reported. A couple of the ones that I find interesting, right, is vitamin B12. So vitamin B12 is highly bioavailable through dairy, and there's none in veggies. Right? That's important. So you would have to supplement if you're on, say, a vegetarian or vegan type diet, which personally I don't agree anybody should be on. But then the vitamin K2. And I found it interesting because they specified for the fruits and vegetables vitamin K. Well, that's because it's K1, right? And our body can convert K1 to K2, but it sucks at it. And so why not just have the dairy, have the meat products, and get the K2 without having to worry about doing the conversion? So next we have a chart that basically compares beef, pork, and lamb. Now, personally, I have never tried lamb, right? Maybe as I did as a kid, but I don't remember. But I've never tried lamb. I'd like to maybe one day. Pork doesn't really agree with my body, so I do beef. And so I just found this chart interesting because it went over the different components and compared them, right? Fat, saturated fat, salt, potassium, phosphorus, zinc, selenium, and the list just goes down. So I just thought I'd include it in there if you want to take a screenshot of it, and then you make the choice on, do you want to eat pig or not? So what do I eat in a typical day? Well, it's pretty straightforward, right? Anywhere from a 15 to 20 hour fast. I only do a 30-hour fast once a week. Breakfast is 4 eggs with bacon bits, Mexican cheese, and usually some slices of beef bacon. Lunch, if I have it, I don't always have it, is hamburger patty with Colby Jack cheese and mustard. And then dinner is always a steak. Whether it's a ribeye or a New York strip, I alternate between the two, and then some romaine lettuce, because that's just what works for me. So I'm pretty rinse and repeat, and honestly, I love it. I love the simplicity of it. I love how I feel from it. And so, yeah, I keep it simple. You don't have to, or I wouldn't recommend, right, the keto bread and the keto this and the keto labeled whatever crap that they're trying to sell just to make money. Just eat real food. Real food, that's where it's at. So I do meal prep. This is what I do for breakfast. This picture right here is the last batch of breakfast that I made for both my husband and I, and it'll last for 3 weeks. Right now, that's for the workday. So this is workday food. On the weekends or days off, I just cook breakfast. So this allows us to get 3 weeks of meals without me having to, start the stove or cook anything. So then hamburgers. Again, pretty straightforward. This time I took 15 pounds of whatever I have packaged in the freezer. Honestly, some of it was grain finished, some of it was grass finished, and everything from 73.27 to 88.12. Like, it was whatever the hell I had. I measured it out into patties, and voila. We package them. I make 10-ounce patties for my husband, 8-ounce patties for myself. And then I put them in a Ziploc bag. You pop them apart the night before, throw it in the fridge, it thaws out, and there's lunch. If you have lunch, right? Some people don't have lunch because they're just not hungry, and sometimes I don't. So the last thing I wanted to go over are just some books I recommend. Knowledge is power, right? Schoolhouse Rocks, baby, if you remember from the 80s. And so keep yourself informed, right? I'm trying to pass on information. I'm trying to be as accurate as possible, but don't believe me just because I'm sitting in front of a camera, right? I do my best to have the highest level of integrity and not skew information, but look at these books, right? There's quite the list, right? Stay Off My Operating Table, The Great Cholesterol Con, Lies I Taught in Medical School, The Great Plant-Based Con, Toxic Superfoods, and Lies My Doctor Told Me. They're all available on Audible, I know, because that's how I listen to them. And so, again, inform yourself. Be an informed consumer. So where do we go from here, right? So your next step is to trial run it, right? Pick one of them. Do you want to be strict Lions diet? Do you want to just eat animal products? Do you want to add a little bit of veggies in there, right? Decide your scope, 100 grams of carbs a day, 20 grams of carbs a day. Make that decision and then say, this is what I'm doing for 90 days. You got to give it 90 days. Otherwise, you don't really know, right? Again, like I said, poisoned myself for 38 years. Couldn't possibly expect me to just be, voila, fixed in a month, right? Contrary to what the Ozempic pill tells you, they don't know the side effects, right? You are the experiment. So I'd rather be the experiment with whole cow foods, right? That's predominantly what I eat is cow. So because we're impatient, right? Humans are impatient. We want it now. They've got us in this convenience lifestyle where everything's now. I don't have to wait for anything. It's totally worth the wait. I promise you, it is totally worth the wait to do it the right way and to get back onto how we were designed to eat as humans. Because again, you spent years poisoning yourself. It's going to take time to heal yourself. But when it comes down to is you are totally worth it. You are worth taking the time and fixing your nutrition because you'll find other things in your life get better. Right? If you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you're female and you have PCOS or endometriosis or any of the other diseases that us poor women get, right? You will start to feel better. Not that men don't get anxiety and depression. Don't misinterpret me there. But I'm female, so I tend to look at that a little bit more. So try it. Give it a go. Hopefully this video helped. If it did, please check out some of my other videos. I am trying to spread the message that we have been lied to and we need to help each other. We need to show each other the right way to eat and what we're supposed to be consuming as humans on this planet Earth that God was so nice to give to us and allow us to use. So let's be better stewards. Let's be better humans and let's help each other. And with that, I wish you a blessed day.